Hello everyone, this is the program Capital Ideas Life and I'm its host, Michael Gibson. Recently, I've been thinking about all the people who make all those goods and products that we buy every day. After all, behind each of them there is a creator, someone who has carefully grown, produced, packaged and delivered all this to the shelves of our stores. Today, in our program, we will tell you about the people who work together for the benefit of Russia. Today on the program, from the Decembrists to the present day, everything about consumer cooperatives in Russia. The cooperative as a way of life. Centrosoyuz, uniting cooperatives in Russia. A consumer cooperative is a voluntary association of citizens and legal entities organized to meet the public need for goods and services. The initial capital of such an organization is made up of shares contributed by all members of the cooperative. The first consumer cooperative appeared in Russia in the early 19th century. The history of the cooperative movement in Moscow is connected with this old mansion in the city centre. It is properly known as the Palace of the Decembrist Mitkov. In 1825, Mikhail Mitkov lived here, a Russian officer of a noble family. He took part in the creation of the charter of a large artel association. The Charter of the Great Artel is a document which was the first to formulate and enshrine the main principles of cooperative living relevant to the present day. Voluntary membership, democratic management, accessibility of information, control of shareholders, and mutual assistance. The principles were based on moral values, equality, justice, solidarity, and honesty. The charter was written by Decembrist officers who created the Great Artel during their exile in Siberia. The Great Artel became the prototype of the first cooperative in Russia. Here at the estate of Mikhail Mitkov, his associates often came and they held secret meetings. This beautiful building, located on Malaya Dmitrovka, one of the oldest streets in Moscow, was erected in 1772. Over the course of its long history, it has had several owners, was restored frequently, and survived an invasion of Napoleon's army and a fire in 1812. In 2008, a restoration was started in this mansion. To restore all this beauty, it took more than 3 years. Wow. Today, our film crew ventured to the mansion on Malaya Dmitrovka to meet the person who has been engaged in the revival of the consumer cooperative system in Russia for more than 5 years and heads its supreme coordinating body, Centrosoyuz of the Russian Federation. Hello, Dmitry Lvovich. It's a pleasure to meet you.
I'm very pleased too. Thank you for coming.
What a beautiful place. Tell me, what is a consumer cooperative?
A cooperative is an association when people join forces. I have opened here specifically a unique document, a copy of the Charter of the Artel. It's dated 1831. A group of Decembrists, while in exile, founded the Equal Opportunity Society in 1831. Among these Decembrists was also the owner of this mansion, who marched with a group of his comrades to Senate Square. The uprising proved unsuccessful, and they ended up in exile and created a society in which every member of this society, the Artel, had equal opportunity. One person, one vote. The idea was that by joining together, people could do much more, and everyone had equal opportunities. No one was oppressed. That's if, in a joint stock company, the vote is divided by who contributed more money. You have 90% of the capital there, I have 10. You have all the rights. But here, we've created a society where one person has one vote. Everyone is equal.
The cooperative Great Artel helped the Decembrists survive in difficult Siberian conditions, but most importantly, to unite the local population for collective farming and improvement of the material condition. The Decembrists' initiative proved so popular that by the final decade of the 19th century, over 500 cooperative communities had already been registered. The golden age of consumer cooperatives in Russia is considered to be 1913 to 1921. The cooperatives of the Urals, Siberia, and the Far East were the most successful.
People united. There were construction teams, land cultivation teams, and they did it together. Machinery appeared, they bought a number of tractors, means of mechanization. It was difficult to buy it alone. They united, and production grew very rapidly.
In the Central Museum of Consumer Cooperatives, you can learn in detail about how this movement developed in Russia and abroad. All these photographs, documents, and rare exhibits were collected from all around Russia.
This is a membership book. Each member of the cooperative society had to pay a certain share. That is, pay a certain amount of money. It was recorded in this book how much money a member contributed and when. And then, at the end of each year, when the settlement period ended, the funds that were invested in the development of joint businesses were counted and a certain compensation was paid to all members of the consumer society.
I see.
This is a bill with the face value of 2 rubles. It was issued at the end of the 19th century. It says Metishi Cooperative Society on it.
One of the most popular sections of the museum are the showcases with products produced by cooperative members in the Soviet Union.
And over here, Michael, look, we have some very interesting exhibits. This is a duck. It also makes a sound.
Wow! I really love this packaging. It's such a classic.
A carrier bag,
And as I remember,
in which you could stow your merchandise.
You always had to take it with you.
Fruits, vegetables, that's how the basket was filled.
I really like the design. Very simple and so effective. In the stores of the consumer cooperatives in the USSR, one could often find rare and unusual goods, as well as unique technological developments, such as, for example, this Soviet vending machine. This is the first time I've seen such a device. This is an automatic eau de cologne machine. And for only 2 kopecks, you could refresh yourself with perfume. And the museum has many posters from the beginning of the 20th century. In the Soviet Union, a poster was considered one of the most visible and effective methods of campaigning and disseminating information to the population. In the Soviet cooperative system, the themes of such posters were elections in cooperatives, accounting and control of the work of shareholders, and of course, the role of women in the work of these associations. Consumer cooperatives are, first and foremost, people united by a common idea. Together they create new products and services. Together they work for the benefit of the motherland. Together they study and relax. Having appeared in Tsarist Russia, cooperative society strengthened during the USSR and preserved with the rest of the country through the transitional period of the 1990s and found its place in the modern economy.
Well, we have this notion. I'm a cooperative member. It's a way of life. People unite not only to make money, that is of course an important part, but also social responsibility is very important for cooperatives.
Consumer cooperatives unite many people and organizations throughout Russia. In 71 regions of the country, consumer societies have been established and operate at the district, regional, territorial, and republic level. This is more than 3,500 enterprises for the production of various products, 29,000 stores, 3,600 catering businesses, and 6,000 reception and purchase points. Almost 1.5 million citizens of Russia today are members of consumer cooperatives.
Everyone has one life. We have to think about each person. No one has two lives. That's why we have to reach every person. I guess it's not for profit, but for the sake of the fact that in the countryside there is no one to deal with these lands. They are abandoned, and they help to engage people, the rural population of nearby villages. No one can survive alone now. We have to work together, and all together, to help.
This beautiful building in the north of Moscow was built in 1907 by the famous Russian architect Ivan Rerberg. After more than 100 years, in 2013, the house was restored, and now the Centrosoyuz is located here, the highest coordinating body of consumer cooperation in Russia. Centrosoyuz does not just coordinate the work of cooperatives. Its task also includes support and development of cooperation in the spheres of trade, production of goods and services, education, science and recreational activities. Another important sphere of Centrosoyuz activity is building a dialogue of cooperators with legislative and executive authorities of the Russian Federation. Centrosoyuz is engaged in lawmaking activities aimed at support and development of the cooperative movement. In a few minutes, a meeting of the RIPO Club will take place in the conference room, and we were invited to take part in this working meeting. Once a month, representatives of the country's regional consumer societies share new practices and tell each other the results of their activities. The meeting is held online.
We have many district consumer societies, so everyone is practically engaged in trade, and we consider the best topics: how to optimize a product range, how to build better pricing, how to implement the most effective and efficient shelf display, how to better conduct procurement activities, who has the best practices here, and our leaders and specialists from different regions can tell us what they have succeeded in. Accordingly, the whole company listens, asks questions, learns and adopts these best practices. Rather than reinventing the wheel, they simply take the best practice and implement it for themselves right away.
One of the participants of the RIPO Club meeting is Konstantin Ineshin, the chairman of Ulyanovsk Regional Consumer Cooperative Society. He told our crew about the Wild Plant Project, which refers to one of the most important areas of cooperatives' work in Russia, procurement activities. Please could you tell me, what are the specifics of the procurement process?
This is one of the oldest human activities, and today it is still relevant, because the surplus products produced by our private farms, private subsidiary plots, and ordinary people have to be sold somewhere, and this work has always been done by cooperatives in Russia. We continue this work, but at a different technological level.
So tell me, how does this system work?
You've harvested something. For example, you have a surplus of some products: berries, milk, meat. Maybe you go to the forest, gather mushrooms, and you want to sell them. There is a system of cooperative which will buy them from you. You bring them in, you get the money. We take it all in, process it, sort it, package it, and make it available for sale.
And do you have some kind of inspection system to check the quality of goods?
We take products that meet certain standards, certain quality criteria, and that meet safety criteria. Of course, we even have Geiger counters at some points to check for radiation levels.
Are wild plants harvested all over Russia?
Russia is very large and each region has its own peculiarities. Somewhere more mushrooms are harvested, somewhere more berries are harvested, somewhere more fruit is harvested, apples, pears.
Another important activity of Centrosoyuz is the Auto Commissary project. This is a network of mobile auto stores that deliver food and basic necessities to remote and hard-to-reach villages and settlements.
In ordinary business, this is not understood. Cooperatives make money in some regions, and part of the profits go to solve social problems. If they stop doing this, many of our villages will simply die out. Compared to the Soviet period, of course, the volume of mobile trade is down a lot. But nevertheless, we have 1,050 mobile commerce sites, in simple terms, mobile booths in the Russian Federation. And in this category, I also include and lead this project. These are bakery trucks, bread delivery trucks. There are 1,600 of them. Seryosh, did you take it? Here. Okay, I'll take it. Right. I have the black and white. I take their bids. I write down in my notebook what they need and bring it. They ask for roofing, we bring roofing. They even brought a couch.
These are all the products made by modern-day cooperatives. They are very tasty, fresh, beautiful. The bread is so good.
Wow.
What else is there? Juice, very natural, cranberries, look. Ooh, sweet pine cones, very beautiful and unusual, and as I understand, very good for your health. And there's something else interesting. Valinki. They are the warmest shoes in the world. And there's even a song I know. Or something like that. It is a must-buy. Look, this is the legendary Orenburg shawl. It's so thin, it can go through a ring. Come on, let's try it. Oh, it's so soft, so pleasant. Wow. It really does. In order to deliver all these wonderful products to every Russian citizen, Centrosoyuz initiated a program for the development of wholesale food markets, which was approved by the government of the Russian Federation for implementation in various regions.
The wholesale food market is widespread in Europe and the West. And here are the best practices we want to transfer to the Russian reality, so that the products of farmers and private farms can be consolidated, to bring it to the standards that modern retail requires, and translate all this through a collection system of large commodity shipments, moving to such sites, wholesale and food markets, where it will be packaged and available in large and small wholesale, implemented for consumers who buy at large conglomerations. This project is designed for settlements and cities with a population of 1 million people or more. It is cost-effective in this case. Cooperatives, well, it's like a kind of environment. We have cooperative rest homes, sanatoriums, We have hobby clubs, palaces of culture, sports sections. We train our students. We have more than 70,000 students of cooperative universities and technical colleges, 58 educational institutions across the country. These are both the universities and institutions of secondary vocational education. There are only 3 universities in the country, which in their name bear the adjective cooperative. We have such a university in Belgorod, in Novosibirsk, and the Russian University of Cooperation. We are here in Moscow.
This year, the Russian University of Cooperation celebrates its 110th anniversary. It is the largest trade and economic university in the country. Its branches are represented in many regions of Russia, from Kaliningrad to Kamchatka.
Our founder, Centrosoyuz of the Russian Federation, has a presence in all regions of our country. And this huge system, of course, needs human resources. We need traditional professions, food production specialists, procurement officers, merchandisers who are engaged in trade.
Any student who joins the student labor team can try his or her hand at various professions. This youth organization has existed for over 60 years. Today, the student labor team is made up of 150,000 active and caring young men and women.
The student group for me is like a way of self-development. You can learn something new and learn for yourself. We help people to clean their houses, to clean their garden plots. There is a lot of help offered, and it's always needed. We work in almost every sector of the national economy of the Russian Federation, spanning 13 different specialties. The guys really like this work, because we get money for this work, unlike volunteering.
Working in their free time, students help construct buildings and roads and work in hotels, sanatoriums and recreation centers. Before starting such work, students necessarily receive additional vocational training.
Labor is cool. Labor is cool. Labor is cool.
In my hands, I have the latest issue of the newspaper Russian Cooperation. This year, the publication turned 25 years old. In this publication, you can learn everything about how cooperators work and live all around Russia. Today, in the era of digitalization, when many media outlets are going online, the printed newspaper of the consumer cooperative remains the most reliable and familiar way for many to receive information and communicate.
Most of our readers are of a fairly mature age, and it's hard for them to change their habits. And one of those habits is communicating with the newspaper in this particular format, paper. They really like to get the newspaper, to open it, read it thoughtfully. Somewhere to underline something in the old-fashioned way with a pencil. To discuss with friends, with colleagues at work.
In addition to the traditional paper version, the newspaper also does have an electronic version. Who exactly reads the newspaper?
The consumer cooperative is, first of all, the shareholders and all the rank and file, specialists, managers. These are their family members who, of course, are interested in how the organization is doing, where their parents work.
Centrosoyuz of the Russian Federation maintains contacts with foreign cooperative associations and is a member of the International Cooperative Alliance, which was established back in the late 19th century. It unites 140 million cooperative members from 101 countries. The organization manages to remain impartial and objective even in times of major political transformations. That is why in 2022, Russia was again elected a member of the board of the International Cooperative Alliance. Centrosoyuz of Russia, represented by the chairman of its board, Dmitry Zubov, became a member of the Euro Co-op board for a 4-year term. This means that Russian consumer cooperation will continue to actively develop not only within the country, but also internationally. Today, we talked with wonderful people who continue the glorious traditions of the cooperative movement and work together for the good of the country. I am Mike Gibson, and this is the programme Capital Ideas Life. See you next time. Bye.